UFC Fight Night 278 Bonfim versus Mohammed takes place this weekend, and we will be breaking down the entire card from top to bottom. And in my opinion, this is one of the best fight night cards of the year. Let's start straight away with the main event. Former welterweight champion Bilal Muhammad versus Gabriel Bonfim. Bilal is currently on a two-fight losing streak with losses to Ian Gary and Jack Della Maddalena. Gabriel Bonfim is on a four-fight win streak. He last beat Randy Brown by KO in the second round. And in my opinion, Bilal Muhammad has got this fight won. Gabriel Bonfim is a takedown artist. Most of his wins, if you look at his record, have come via submission. And Bilal Muhammad is impossible to take down. So, in my opinion, this fight will be mostly contested on the feet. And Bilal in his has shown in his fights that he can stand with anyone. That fight against Ian Gary was actually pretty close. I think Bilal Muhammad took the second round, but Ian was just landing the better shots. He was so elusive and very hard to take down. And every time Bilal failed a takedown, he looked very dejected. I don't think he's going to try and even take Gabriel down. I think he's going to stand with him. And I think Bilal is actually the better striker. Gabriel Bonfim has a very orthodox Muay Thai kind of style, and Bilal has seen that. He's so experienced. At one time, he was on a 9 or 10 fight win streak, former champion, and Bonfim, in my opinion, hasn't looked that impressive in his fights, except for his last fight where he KO'd Randy Brown. If you look at his fight against Wonderboy Thompson, a lot of people thought that he lost that fight. I don't think he lost. I think he actually won the first and third round. But in the second round, he got wobbled really badly by Wonderboy Thompson. He was out on his feet. He was wobbled. But when Bilal fought Wonderboy about 3 or 4 years ago, he dominated that fight. Actually, got a 10-8 round, I think, in the second round. So I think Bilal Muhammad is on a different level. He's shown that he can still hang with the best fighters in the division. The Jack Della Maddalena fight was a bit of a domination, but Bilal was in there the whole time. Granite chin. That shot which knocked out Randy Brown is not gonna make Bilal even flinch. He has an iron chin, still going strong at 37 years old, though he is on a two-fight losing streak. And I got Bilal in this fight. Say what you will about this guy. He's a BMF. He's a great fighter. He's a real champion. Taking on young guys like Gabriel Bonfim. He has nothing to gain from this fight. He could have waited out, made complaints, been like, I want this, I want that, blah, blah, blah. None of that shit with Bilal Muhammad. This guy is a fighter. Respect. And moving on, in the co-main event, Brendan Allen takes on Edmund Shabazian. This is such a mismatch in my opinion. I think Brendan Allen is probably one of the most talented fighters in this division, but he is one of the dumbest guys. Even in his last fight where he beat Rainier Derrida, he gave up so many positions where it looked like he could have even finished or gotten off some incredible damage, but he gave up many good positions or didn't do anything from dominant positions. He beat Anthony Hernandez up in the first round of their fight, but after that, he gave up key positions in the second and third round and lost that fight. He controlled Nasruddin Imavov for the whole of the first round in their fight, controlled that round, and he was even doing really good on the feet, but he went on going for takedowns and pulling guard. And Edmund Shabazian, just a few fights ago, he got finished by Gerald Mershart. Brendan Allen, in no point of his career, would get finished by Gerald Mershart. And last fight, Edmund Shabazian had a kind of weak-looking performance against Andre Muniz, who is just done with fighting. I think he's been released from the UFC. He's beaten Andre Petroski. He got beaten the shit out of by Anthony Hernandez, taken down again and again, got taken down again and again by Jack Manson in their fight, got damaged badly in that fight. I think Brendan Allen is on another level. And while he does make a lot of mistakes, I don't think Edmund Shabazian has what it takes to get those mistakes out of Brendan Allen. I think Brendan is just going to take Edmund Shabazian down as soon as this fight begins and dominate him. Even in that Marvin Vittori fight, Brendan Allen looked incredible. It looked like at some points he could have gotten Marvin out of there. Marvin's impossible to knock out, but he could have gotten Marvin out of there with a rear naked choke. But he gave up positions there as well. But I don't think Edmund has what it takes to force those mistakes out of Allen, and therefore I'm going with Brendan Allen in this fight. And this fight should have been made to begin with. Allen is ranked really highly in the division. This should have been a Caio Borralho matchup for him, or even Dricus Duplessis, or maybe even Joe Pfeiffer. But they're going with this big mismatch, and let's see what happens. But I don't think Allen is going to lose this fight. And I don't even think Edmund has a puncher's chance, to be honest. I think Allen is just way better than him. Moving on. Perez Ziam versus Tom Nolan. Again, very weird matchmaking. Ziam is on a hell of a win streak. In his last fight, he beat Nazem Sadikov, dominated that fight, dominated the fight against Mike Davis, had those great grappling in that fight. Tom Nolan beat Charlie Campbell in his last fight. He beat up a few bums before that. In his debut, he got knocked out by Nicholas Morta in the first round. He just got caught. That happens. Even Perez Ziam has had some weird performances in his career. He got beaten by Terence McKinney very easily. He actually, if you look at his fight against Jimmy Malarkey, he robbed Jamie Malarkey. But I think at this point in his career, Perez Ziam is just way better than Tom Nolan. Tom Nolan is a very tough guy. He got dropped by Victor Martinez and came back to win that fight. But Perez Ziam is on a different level at this point. He's coming into his own. He's trying to make a run for the title, and I think Perez Ziam is going to win this fight. Tom Nolan is very slow, and Perez Ziam is just at the top of his game. So I got Perez Ziam in this fight. Really looking forward to it, though. Tom Nolan is not a bum. He's good. He's really good. And he does have a chance, but I just don't see it happening. Perez has just fought a different level of competition. He's been in the UFC for 7 years now, and he's just 29 years old. So I got Perez Ziam winning this fight. Next up, I got Bryce Mitchell versus Santiago Luna. 21-year-old Santiago Luna against UFC vet Bryce Mitchell, who's only just 31 years old himself. I think he's going to make a title run in the bantamweight division. If you look at the bantamweight division now, Bryce Mitchell could be making a title run because at the top of the division, a lot of the fighters have already fought each other. So if Bryce Mitchell can get the right matchups and the UFC, he's still in the good graces of the UFC after, some of the things he said and some of his antics outside the cage. The guy is kind of strange, the stuff he says. I mean, this is your career, the people who are in charge of the UFC. If you look at the UFC's ownership, they will not be happy with the shit Bryce Mitchell has been saying. But regardless, I rate Bryce Mitchell highly as a fighter, and I think he's going to beat 21-year-old Santiago Luna, who looked great against Angel Pacheco in his last fight. But Angel Pacheco is not UFC level. He beat Kwang Lee by knockout in his debut, had a good fight on the Contender Series as well. I believe he won that by KO. But Bryce Mitchell is on another level. His grappling looked really good in his grappling is high level, man. His grappling is high level. He looked great in his last fight against Said Nurmagomedov. And this fight is also short notice for Santiago Luna. This was supposed to be Victor Henry. But I think Bryce Mitchell's grappling is going to be super dominant in this fight. And he is going to win this fight by a decision, in my view. He is still operating at a high level, and I don't think Santiago Luna has seen anything like this before. So I got Bryce Mitchell winning this fight, yeah. But kudos to Bryce for taking this fight. It's not easy taking fights against these hungry up and comers on short notice. You don't know what exactly they're going to bring to the table. Like, for example, Victor Henry, who was supposed to be in place of Santiago Luna. There's a lot of tape on him. You know what to expect. But you don't know what Santiago Luna has in his toolbox. So we'll see what happens. In the next fight, Ivo Baranowski versus Junior Tafa. Ivo Baranowski is a savage. He's coming off 2 first-round knockouts. That crazy fight against Ibo Aslan. And in his last fight, he beat Austin Lane. Junior Tafa is coming off a knockout himself, but he's had some very questionable losses in his career. He lost to Tuko Tokos at one point. And Ivo Baranowski has looked good. He has good striking, and he hasn't even got the chance to show off his main skill. He's actually a judo guy. He's a judoka, undefeated, light heavyweight. And if he wins this fight, I think it's right to the top for him. They'll give him a top 15 matchup next, in my opinion. So I got Ivo Baranowski winning this fight. I think he's gonna knock Justin Tafa out cold in probably the first round. He's way better than Justin Tafa. Moving on. Matt Schnell versus Alessandro Costa. I just can't trust Matt Schnell's chin at this point in his career. He's been flatlined, KO'd, and hurt so many times. Alessandro Costa is coming off a first round knockout or a second round knockout in his last fight, and he has some pop in his shots. He's a good fighter. He was out for a long time after, I think, between 2024 and 2025. I think he was suffering from some injuries, but he's back now. He's active. He looked good in his last fight, and I think he's going to beat Matt Schnell and probably knock him out in the first or second round. And Matt Schnell is just done. I'm surprised he's still fighting, to be honest. He's taken so much damage in his career, but it is what it is. I think Alessandro Costa's got this. Marcus McGee versus John Yanis. Big step down in competition for Marcus McGee. He last fought Piotr Yan. Actually took the first, it was a 29-28 fight, so he took the first round from Piotr Yan. And John Yanis last beat, I think, some dude from Canada in his last fight. So John Yanis is not really some highly touted prospect. I think he's moving down from featherweight to bantamweight. And I got Marcus McGee winning this fight. I think Marcus McGee is great. He's beaten Jonathan Martinez before. That's a good win. And I think he's going to beat John Yanis by a 29-28 decision, maybe 30-27. We'll see what happens. But Marcus McGee is really good. He's got that high level experience now against Piotr Yan. Still young in his career, though he's just 36 years old, but he's young in his career. And he looks like he's 50, though, yeah. So we'll see what happens. Marcus McGee is probably going to beat John Yanis. Bruno Silva versus Edgar Shearez. So here's the thing with this fight. It's a very interesting fight. Edgar Shearez and Bruno Silva have both fought high level competition, but each time Edgar Shearez fights high level competition, he actually has a pretty close fight with them. He fought Tatsuro Taira in his UFC debut. He knocked Taira down in the first round of their fight, but he got dominated in the grappling for the other two rounds. Lost 29-28 decision to Taira. He lost a 29-28 decision to Van as well, hurt Van a bit in the first round of their fight, but eventually got picked apart on the feet with the leg kicks and body shots in that fight. On the other hand, when Bruno Silva fights high-level competition, he gets completely dominated, beaten from pillar to post. He got beaten the shit out of by Joshua Van, took a hell of a lot of damage in that fight, took a hell of a lot of damage in the Manel Cap fight, had a very, very close fight with Charles Johnson in his last fight, and he could have even won that fight, but in my personal opinion, Charles Johnson won that fight. So I got Edgar Shearez actually winning this fight. He's more in his prime. He's 30. Bruno Silva's 36. And if Bruno Silva works his leg kick and clinch game in this fight, goes for some takedowns, he might get the job done. But Edgar Shearez has a tricky grappling game too. I've seen his grappling game in some of his fights. He's coming off a victory over Felipe Boons, who is a decent kickboxer. I think Bruno Silva is better than Felipe Boons, but Edgar Shearez has high level experience, and so does Bruno. But I think Edgar Shearez is just more in his prime. He's physically probably stronger than Bruno Silva at this point, and he's going to win this fight. A ranked fight in the flyweight division takes place on this card, and the flyweights always deliver. This fight could just turn out to be a hell of a banger. Edgar Shearez is always an exciting fight, so is Bruno Silva. But I got Edgar winning this fight. Priscilla Capoeira versus Chelsea Chandler. I mean, I got Priscilla Capoeira probably winning this fight. She is not absolute dog shit, and Chelsea Chandler is absolute dog shit. So that's basically what it comes down to. Jordan Levitt versus Wanderson Brito. Now, Wanderson Brito has looked pretty terrible in some of his fights. He's got dominated by Pat Sabatini, who has turned out to be really good. He got beaten by William Gomez. Jordan Levitt is coming off a win over the great Yadier Del Val, who beat the great Isaac Dulgarian, dominated the great Isaac Dulgarian. If you know, you know. And I got Jordan Levitt winning this fight. I think he's just more into the game right now. Joe Anderson Brito, even he won his last fight against an Australian debutant, but it was a lackluster performance. I'll be completely honest. Jordan Levitt has looked more focused on the game, and I think that's what it comes down to here. Both these guys have good experience. Joe Anderson Brito beat Diego Lopez on the Dana White's Contender Series, so this guy is not a joke. He's beaten Andre Fili, has some decent wins, but he's beaten Jack Shore. So this guy has some decent wins, but he's looked lackluster as fuck. He's just 31 years old though, so this could be a comeback fight for him. Jordan Levitt, in my opinion, is a winnable fight for Joe Anderson Brito, but Jordan Levitt has just looked more tuned into the game over his last few fights, and Joe Anderson Brito has just looked like very lackluster. So I got Jordan Levitt winning this fight. Jay Chavez versus Y Dubin. I have no idea who these people are. I really apologize, and I haven't done any research for this fight. So, these look like they're two debutants because everything is zero out here. What the fuck is this? Why are they putting these kind of like, Jesus Lord? They haven't even given Y Dubin a photo for God's sake. Anyhow, let's see who looks better here. I think Y Dubin looks better, so I think I'm going to go for the better looking one. Y Dubin it is. Y Dubin. Ketlin Souza versus Ariane Carnelosi. Now, I did tell you all that this is probably one of the best fight night cards of the year, but you can't have it all, can you? So many ranked fights, so many great competitors. So we will have a little bit of slop on these cards. So I think I'm going to go with Ariane Carnelosi winning this fight. If you know, this fight has already taken place once in the regional scene, and Ariane Carnelosi beat Ketlin Souza. These women fighters rarely ever improve, do they? So I'm going to go with Ariane Carnelosi winning this fight, probably in the same way she won last time. I don't even give a no fuck, to be honest. And that's it, folks. Let me know what you think, who you got winning these fights. I'll be so happy to discuss with y'all in the comment section. Peace.